She's not fit to rule. This time, it wasn't a whisper. It was louder. Intentional. Meant to humiliate. The court didn't react immediately. But the silence that followed said everything. A child sat on the throne, surrounded by men who believed they owned it. One of them stepped forward, eyes filled with quiet arrogance. A crown on a child is still a crown without power. Soft laughter spread, controlled, confident. They wanted her to feel it, to shrink under it. But she didn't move. No fear, no reaction. Just stillness, the kind that doesn't belong to children. And that's when something felt wrong, because this wasn't weakness. This was patience, and no one in that room understood what they had just started. They didn't remove her. That would have been dangerous. Instead, they erased her. Decisions moved around her. Power shifted behind her. Her voice became unnecessary in rooms she was meant to control. She was present, but irrelevant. A queen in title, a spectator in reality. And every time she entered a room, conversations didn't pause. They disappeared. As if she wasn't supposed to hear them, but she did. Every word, every silence, every hidden intention. Subscribe to HistoraX, because stories like this expose how power really works. The humiliation wasn't loud, it was constant. At dinner, she was ignored. At council, she was dismissed. Every moment felt like a quiet test designed for her to fail. The crown didn't feel like authority. It felt like a reminder of what she didn't control. But something unusual began to happen. She stopped reacting completely. No anger, no sadness, no resistance, just observation. She watched who led without speaking, who manipulated without force, who controlled outcomes without ever being questioned. Slowly, the chaos around her became a pattern. And patterns can be broken. One afternoon, an advisor leaned closer than usual. "Your Majesty, some matters are simply beyond your understanding." The room nodded. Agreement moved like a wave. This was the moment she was expected to accept her place, to shrink, to obey, and she stayed silent. Exactly as they wanted. But then she looked at him, slowly, deliberately, and didn't look away. Long enough for him to shift, long enough for others to notice. Because something had changed. She wasn't being dismissed anymore. She was evaluating. Behind closed doors, the mockery grew stronger. She's harmless. She's predictable. But they missed the shift. She had stopped trying to prove herself. Instead, she started asking questions. Quiet ones, precise ones, dangerous ones. Why was that decision made before the meeting? Why does one advisor always speak last? Why do certain letters arrive late? But not everywhere. Their room didn't react immediately, but something cracked. Because now, answers mattered, and not everyone had won. At night, she disappeared. Not physically, mentally. While the palace slept, she built something no one could see. Candlelight. Books. Ideas. Strategy. She read everything. Memorized everything. Understood everything. No praise. No teacher. No witness. Just discipline. Power isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It grows. Quietly. Until one day, it's too late to stop it. Then came the first shift. A noble presented a proposal with absolute confidence. He expected agreement. Instead, she asked one question, then another, then a third. Each one sharper than the last, each one exposing something hidden. His voice didn't break instantly. It faded slowly. His confidence didn't collapse. It weakened. The room watched, carefully, because something had changed. The child they ignored had just made a powerful man hesitate. After that, the atmosphere changed. Subtly, quietly, but undeniably. Conversations became shorter, words became careful. Because now, they weren't sure what she knew. And uncertainty is the beginning of fear. Even the servants felt it. The whispers had changed. They weren't mocking her anymore. They were questioning her. And she noticed, because fear has a sound softer than laughter, slower, more careful. And now, she could hear it everywhere. Then came the moment that changed everything. A council meeting designed to overwhelm her. Documents. Debates. Confusion. A trap. One advisor finally said it again. This is not a burden for a child. The room settled. Final. Controlled. Then, she spoke. Not loudly, but clearly. She's right, one man whispered before realizing she hadn't finished. She reached for a letter. A letter no one in that room believed she had seen. This agreement, she said calmly, was altered before it reached the throne. Silence. Real silence. Because they knew that letter was never supposed to reach her. She didn't argue. She dismantled. Calmly. Precisely. Without raising her voice. Every lie. Uncovered. Every contradiction. Revealed. And then she said something that froze the room. Tell me, who exactly is unfit to rule? From that day forward, everything changed. They still spoke, but they were careful, because they knew she was watching. The young queen wasn't weak. She was dangerous, not because she fought, but because she understood. No longer a place of arrogance, but of intelligence. Because now, it wasn't about controlling her. It was about surviving her. The same men who once mocked her now chose their words carefully. She didn't punish them. Their fear was enough. At the peak of her power, she began to withdraw, and no one understood why. People don't walk away from power unless they no longer need it. Then she announced it. Calm, direct, final. She would leave the throne. The room froze. This was choice, the highest form of power. As she walked away, the throne didn't lose value. It lost meaning. Because power was never the crown, it was the mind wearing it. The same voices that once laughed fell silent. They said she didn't belong on the throne. But in the end, she proved she never needed it. Real power isn't proven when you hold it. It's proven when you can walk away from it and still leave the world in silence.